Hello, Srishti.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please tell us about yourself.
I've been born and brought up in Delhi. I did my engineering from Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Engineering. Thereafter, I worked in EY, Ernst& Young, for 3.5 years in business consulting. I did my MBA in finance and marketing, and in as a regular habit, I practice gratitude journaling, and whenever possible, I facilitate self-defense training for women and children.
Oh, that's interesting. Uh, and what is this journaling that you do? Is it on a regular basis? And what do you really mean by gratitude journaling? Like, is it that you are thankful for whatever you have, or what does it entail?
Sir, I do it at the end of the day, just before sleeping, that
Hmm.
whatever good things happened in the day, or perhaps if, especially if on tough days, I learned something, so I'm grateful for that and I take a note of it.
Very well. So, how does that help you in terms of your mental health and emotional well-being?
So, number one thing is that it gives me perspective. Sometimes, when we are in the moment or dealing with some sort of trouble, we feel that the world is crashing over us. But then, at the end of
Yes.
the day, in retrospect, we realize that somehow we made it through. And there are learnings from that. It made me empathetic, humble, and also more resilient.
Hmm. Very well. Do you think there are several mental health concerns which are peculiar to women, or is it a gender agnostic kind of a field?
So, mental health affects both men and women. From my perspective, I can say that the experiences of women dealing with mental health issues is a little bit unique. Number one is that the societal conditioning is such that uh, we are expected to take up certain roles and brush off our own personal, professional choices under the rug if something is expected in terms of role taking in the family. Um,
Mm.
there are also certain instances of, let's say, small level harassment or molestation, which is something that can't be even reported because of lack of evidence and can't be forgotten because of harm to dignity. So certain instances, so yes, they affect the mental health.
Very well. Uh, since you raised the issue, what do you think are the root causes of rampant sexual harassment of women, particularly at the workplace?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is the skewed power dynamics, because at workplace we usually see that men
Yes.
are at a higher position than women, so their voice and their power as a female gets subdued in terms of the power dynamics being disproportionate. Secondly, there have been instances where the ICC, Internal Complaints Committee, has been formed. However, there is inherent biasness towards those at the higher rung of the hierarchy. These two things that come to mind. And third, I think the ostracization of the victim herself in
Hmm.
terms of shaming. These three things. However, so there are positive steps taken also, like the
Very
POSH
well.
Act, Shaka guidelines.
Yes. Uh, do you think achieving career growth or attaining a top-notch position in an organization uh, gives some sort of an immunity to women against sexual harassment and discrimination in general?
To an extent, I would agree, sir. The first thing is, as the point we shared earlier, that if somebody is at a higher position in terms of the power dynamics in an organization, then there are lesser chances of their dignity being revoked, number one. And if we go
Mm,
out of the workplace and consider a woman who is doing professionally well, then other aspects of her life in terms of financial independence, or the fact
mm,
that she does not mandate have to take public transport, or the instances of let's say domestic violence would be reduced because of the financial autonomy and the professional authority that she entails.
mm. And you think that financial and professional empowerment also extends to the domain of family and personal life?
To a certain extent, yes, sir. Because with financial autonomy comes also the power to make decisions over, let's say, family decisions. The woman has a higher say towards her own bodily autonomy. And also the fact that if somebody is financially independent, then they do not have to um, be submissive towards the whims and fancies of the male member of the family. They can take care of themselves and their children, so that gives a sense of empowerment.
Very well. Uh, what is a glass ceiling, would you say, Srishti?
Yes, so glass ceiling is a sociological concept wherein it has been observed that women in the workplace are able to get to certain positions based on merit and promotion. However, an invisible cap or stopgap appears wherein women are not preferred for higher level positions like the C-suite or the upper management level positions, which are dominated by men.
Hmm. And have you also heard of the glass floor?
Sorry, sir, I've not heard about it.
Any idea what a glass escalator is?
Sir, if with your permission, I may take a guess.
Please.
Sir, it might entail to the fact that how fragile the growth of a woman in the workplace is, because I am just making a connotation with respect to an escalator and glass in terms of career growth and career promotion. I have heard about glass cliff though.
Very well. All right. What would you say have been the major achievements of the women's movements in India over the past 7 decades or so?
So, since we are talking specifically in the past 7 decades, I think the first one I would mention is women's participation in the independence movement,
Okay.
like G. Naidu, Miss Kasturba Gandhi. The second thing is how women um, participated in protection of the environment. Let's say the Chipko movement, Apico movement. So the nature culture debate of Miss Vandana Shiva. The third is how women raised their voices against social evils like dowry practice, domestic violence, and then the legislations were entailed based on these protests and movements. And the fourth
Hmm.
one, uh, coinciding with the global wave of feminism, how social media and internet revolutionized women's movements by Me
Hmm.
Too and Lahu Ka Lagan, those kind of online movements uh, garnering garnering popularity in the recent times.
Very well. And what is your sense? What should be, the key items on the agenda of the women's movements in India going ahead? What should they be prioritizing and focusing on?
Sir, the first thing that comes to my mind right now is uh, equality in terms of opportunities to health, education, and employment, these three. Second is how climate change and environmental degradation primarily affects women more because we have seen the concept of water wife and wood wife, how women in the rural areas are affected more adversely. These two things for sure. And the third, I think, if at an institutional level we discuss, then mandatory provision of self-defense classes in schools and colleges for girls and boys
Hmm.
both, because men should not be construed as enemies of feminism or women's dignity. They can be allies, and rather than being a bystander, they could also be a protector in critical situations.
Hmm. Very well. Srishti, do you think that feminism in India is, perhaps a bit too much influenced by Western feminism? Will that be a fair assessment to make?
So there are points of intersection, in my opinion. Um,
Okay.
like as we saw in the Me Too movement, and
Hmm.
we saw in the Vishaka guidelines how women in the workplace have been harassed at both places. However, there are points of differences also. Um, as per Kimberly Crenshaw, we saw intersectionality theory wherein race was a contentious issue along with the gender atrocities. However, in India,
Yes.
it is caste, which is
Hmm.
intermingling gender to cause double oppression of women as per Gail Ombet.
All right. Uh, you talked about how financial and career growth brings a sort of empowerment. But then, how do we empower, poorer women in the local communities at the village level, or say tribal women? How can they be empowered?
So, in village level, we can have the model of self-help groups,
Hmm.
cooperatives, and another innovative method is neighborhood help groups, NHGs, drilling down to a level below self-help group.
Hmm.
Talk about tribal women, then we could make them beneficiaries in terms of schemes like PM Bandhan and TriFed, so that their tribal knowledge and the works that they are skilled in, they could
Yes.
be monetized for financial empowerment and decision making.
Okay. There was recently, some time back, a bill which was hailed as historic for women's empowerment. Uh, are you aware of this development?
Yes, sir. Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam.
Yes. So, what are its provisions like? What does it provide for?
Sir, it's providing 33% reservation to women in the legislature, Lok Sabha and state legislature assembly.
Hmm.
And the provision is a positive step to increase women's participation in politics, so that the other half of the gender also gets adequate representation.
Yes. Uh, do you think that this is only going to benefit, elite women, or do you think that ordinary women will also benefit from this move?
There are certain debates about how politically influential families might promote their
Hmm.
daughters, wives, mothers or daughters-in-law in the
Yes.
influential positions. However, sir, since it is a positive change, I think it is a matter of time that the local women from the grassroots will get an opportunity and a seat at the table.
Okay. Do you think women make for better or different politicians than their male counterparts?
So, women largely have the inherent qualities of compassion and taking stakeholders' viewpoints in decision making, consensus building approach. So, through that aspect, I think they can make a better politician because, first of all, they would understand the actual demands of the electorate and try to bring a consensus-based decision which is beneficial for everyone. And more
Very well.
importantly, I believe that
Yes.
understanding the special problems or requirements of women would
Hmm.
be probably done better by a female representative. Earlier, as we saw that, just to quote an example, how GST Council earlier had all males and they imposed 18% tax on sanitary napkins, and then
Hmm.
eventually after this it was reduced. So I think the policies could be made more inclusive and gender sensitive.
So, Srishti, what do you understand by this notion of gender justice? What does it mean to you?
So, in my opinion, gender justice entails the provision of equal merit based opportunities to both men and women, and additional angle of inclusion of transgender and LGBTQ groups in terms of access to rights, facilities, and dignity in the society.
Okay. Uh, how do you distinguish between, sex, gender, and sexuality, or are they the same thing?
So, sex is a biological term based on the chromosomes that one is born with. The 23rd pair having XX or XY determines whether a person is a biological male or female. Gender,
Yes.
however, is a sociological construct based on our additional to our biological attributes based on our upbringing and personal preferences in terms
Okay.
of how we allocate our identity.
Okay. And sexuality?
Sexuality, sir, it is a fluid concept in terms of, first of all, how the person identifies himself or herself and what kind of affiliation or future partnership that they foresee themselves having in terms of partner selection.
Very well. You think, that we should have perhaps legalized same-sex marriages? That we missed a golden chance there?
So, as a human right, yes, we could have considered it, and perhaps in accordance to that line of thought, Supreme Court decriminalized Section 377. However, legalizing the same-sex marriage might entail more consideration because a lot of laws need to be reformed. For example, marriage, adoption, succession, and it is a long legislative process which deserves due diligence and debates in the parliament.
Very well. Uh, how can we promote national integration, Srishti?
So, first thing that comes to my mind is by solving the problems that are affecting the larger population set in terms of, let's say, poverty. Because
Okay.
in sociology, we have studied how parochial identities of caste, religion come more into the forefront when issues of poverty, illiteracy are percolating and distorting the social fabric of a nation. So these issues of poverty, health, education, they need to be first of all improved to integrate our nation more successfully. And secondly, if at niche levels, perhaps implementable steps that we can do is we can promote cultural exchange among students. For
Hmm.
example, in NSS, we have a annual national integration camps wherein representatives from all states come and share their experiences. So, including youth in the process of spreading the ideology of national integration is a good idea.
Okay. Is secularism a necessary ingredient for national integration in India?
Yes, sir. Because by the very ideology of secularism, we are creating space for everyone to follow their own religious choice while treating them all equally. And national integration would be strengthened by the pillar of secularism because it would vehemently remove the space for religious tensions. So it is a good, it is a pivotal pillar for national integration.
Okay. Uh, what do you make of this debate on the Places of Worship Act, which is currently underway? Do you think we should scrap it or should it remain on the statute books?
So, in my opinion, it preserves the religious sanctity of the places of worship, and if we scrap this act, then it might lead to widespread communal tensions as the religious sentiments of many communities might get hurt, and they might fear erosion or degradation of their religious values. So I think that it should stay in place.
Very well. Imagine yourself as the DM in charge of a communally sensitive district, Srishti, and there's a situation which is emerging wherein two communities they are having, say, their religious festivities are clashing, right? So how do you propose to tackle and diffuse the situation?
So, first of all, I would analyze the situation. If it is getting
Mm,
violent or the communities are in physical contact, then the first step would be to call
mm,
for police forces to
mm,
contain the situation from turning into a mob lynch or communal riot. If it is after that, sir, I will identify and call for meeting the leaders of the two
mm.
communities. I will also
Okay,
include religious leaders of the two communities because they tend to have a stronger say in the community and the people listen to them and follow them. After calling the stakeholders and the SP of my district,
mm.
I will ensure that concerns of both the sides are heard and we achieve at an amicable solution. And thereby the matter should be resolved peacefully.
Very well. Let's move to another domain, if you please. uh, do you think or in what ways you would say that globalization has benefited our country?
So the first thing is the LPG reforms of 1991, which helped India open up its economy to the market forces and helped in tiding over the balance of payment crisis.
Okay.
The second aspect of globalization is that it made it made our own education system more cosmopolitan because we got access to much more technology and advancements, and research and developments were shared. From a sociological perspective, globalization led to more urbanization, industrialization, and cosmopolitan culture of also embracing certain values of westernization, which reduced certain parochial practices of, um, let's say, Sanskritization or something like that. So basically, our value system modified a lot because of globalization.
Okay. Uh, can I say that India's economic growth over the past 30 years is responsible for global warming?
So India is a developing nation which could not reap the benefits of the earlier stages of industrial revolution. And in the last 30 years, yes, our economic growth has escalated. However, calling India responsible for global warming might not be fair because, first of all, there are many developing nations which have escalated industrial activities like China, Vietnam, and um, simultaneously, I would also defend that in terms of economic growth, yes, we have progressed, but we have also been conscious about environmental protection and have ratified to the latest Paris deals and COPs. So we have been mindful of both.
Okay.
However, yes, steps should be taken to contain the effects of global warming.
Okay. How do you assess the numerous, ecological struggles that take place in India?
Ecological struggles, I think, in India specifically, they stem from um, balancing the priorities of economic development and simultaneously the preservation of nature and natural habitats. Um, there have been instances of protests against certain dam creation or clearing of certain forests for redevelopment, but the holistic view has been of taking stakeholder perspective and the ideology of Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas. And there are certain bodies like NGT and Ministry of Environment which have tried to balance the ecological disruption by compensation and rehabilitation.
All right. Uh, are you comfortable discussing issues related to caste?
Yes, sir.
Very well. So, tell me, like, is caste relevant in today's day and age?
A large section of the society still derives their identity and pride association with caste, sir. So, yes, it is still seen to be relevant.
And is caste the same as class, or rather two different?
So, caste and class are different. Caste is derived from the ascribed identity of um, which family or community one is born in. However, class is a more
Okay.
fluid and socially mobile concept based on our economic position in the society and our earning
Hmm.
capacity.
So, when we say OBC, what does it stand for? What is the full form of OBC?
Other backward classes, I think.
It is classes.
Also.
But if that is the case, then why do we list various castes under the other backward classes?
So it is as per the socio-economic backwardness. Both the factors have been taken into consideration for OBCs, social plus economic backwardness. So maybe that's the reason, but sure, I'll read about it.
Very well. What is your stance? Should we be conducting a nationwide caste census?
Sir, a caste census would help in identifying the target beneficiaries or who have not been able to reap the benefits of affirmative actions of the government. So, in that aspect, it is a positive step, and we can conduct it. However, very careful considerations need to be put in place with a strong mechanism of data privacy so that the personal details of the people are not misused for political agendas.
Okay. And is it a legitimate direction to go in if we are to apply the creamy layer criteria to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes?
Yes, sir. As per the Supreme Court judgment, also, uh, applying the subcategorization criteria to SC and ST would ensure that we are able to identify those elites from the backward caste who have reaped the benefits of reservation and welfare economy, and then those who still are at the lowest rung of the society or perhaps bottom of the pyramid, those people get a chance to have access to social mobility and economic opportunities.
Okay. Also, tell me on a different topic, give me a sociological analysis of the trend of student suicides in places like Kota in Rajasthan in the context of competitive exams.
Sir, the suicides of students in Kota have been attributed to increased pressure of excelling in competitive exams, added with
Okay.
peer pressure and comparison, and also from parental pressure, or perhaps carrying the family's dignity in terms of how the student makes their future, shapes their future in terms of career. If we do a sociological analysis, then yes, it is a part of Durkheim's anomy and a part of egoistic suicide, wherein the regulations and integration with the society see a mismatch. You are on mute, sir.
Srishti, since you're a student of sociology, whom would you pick as your favorite sociologist?
So, Mr. M.N. Srinivas.
M.N. Srinivas. Uh,
Yes.
can you list some of his major books?
One that I remember, sir, is Caste and Politics in India, I think, was written
Okay.
by him. And
Mhm.
the major concept of Sanskritization provided by him, and the study of Rampura village, the Coorg village and the Rampura village, they have been done by him.
All right. Uh, what is, if you were to tell us in a nutshell, what does Srinivas say about Indian society?
So, in Indian society, Mr. Srinivas shared how caste is an integral part. The process of Sanskritization is seen as a method of social mobility, and then there is a phenomena of emergence of dominant caste due to access to land, higher population, and adopting the rituals of upper caste, and which is, I think, still prevalent even after decades of his research.
Okay. Do you think that Sanskritization, which you mentioned, is it still taking place? Does it even matter today?
So while the prevalence and intensity might have decreased, but as a phenomena, Sanskritization is still relevant, especially in the rural pockets wherein people's identity is affected by their caste. And in the modern day, also, we see how institutions of marriage and family, or perhaps partner selection, are influenced by the caste of
Hmm.
both the persons.
So will you term that as Sanskritization? If marriage is influenced or mate selection is influenced by caste, is that Sanskritization?
Sir, if let's say hypergamy is happening, wherein a bride from a lower caste is marrying a groom from upper caste, I think that is an attempt at upward social mobility and inherent in the ideology of Sanskritization. Not just Sanskritization was mainly dealing with adopting the rituals and lifestyles of upper caste, but in marriage also, I think this is visible.
Hmm. Mhm. Very well. Is there any other area of discussion which you think we have not sufficiently touched upon or discussed, which you would like to talk about? Any topic?
Um, Sir, about India's changing population trends, I wanted to discuss with you that since we have reached a TFR of 2.1, so how we should take a stance or how we should form opinions about it.
I'll address your doubts in just a bit. Presently, I'm asking it as a part of our formal interaction. If a similar such question is posed to you, that is how you would respond to that.
No,
Are there
sir,
any
I would
areas or
say
topics you'd like to discuss?
no, sir. Thank you.
ठीक है. All right. So we are done with our discussion. Thank you, Srishti.
Thank you, sir.